Welcome back to G Fun Facts Online, your favorite spot for mind-blowing insights into the world around us, and sometimes the world long, long ago. Today, we're digging deep, literally and figuratively, into the Stone Age, but forget any cartoonish images of cavemen clubbing things randomly. We're about to unmask the Mesolithic period, the Middle Stone Age, and discover how tiny scratches on ancient tools are completely rewriting history. How? Through the incredible power of experimental archaeology and microwear analysis. Get ready to have your perception of our ancestors sharpened. For a long time, when archaeologists found a pointed bone, they'd say, "Ah, a chisel," or a small flint flake. Clearly, a scraper. This was based on shape, what we call typology. It's a good starting point, but imagine trying to figure out what every tool in your kitchen does just by its shape, without ever seeing it used. You might get some right, but you'd miss a lot, right? Well, that's where we were with many Mesolithic tools, leaving a fuzzy, sometimes even wrong, picture of how these ancient hunter-gatherers actually lived and worked. But then came the game changers. First up, microwear analysis. Think of it like forensic science for ancient tools. Archaeologists use superpowered microscopes to examine the teeniest, tiniest traces of wear, microscopic polishes, scratches, and edge damage, left on tools when they were used thousands of years ago. It's incredible. Just like a modern forensic expert can tell if a crowbar was used to pry a door, these specialists can identify what materials an ancient tool worked with, and even the motion used. Scraping soft animal hide leaves a different signature than cutting wood. They can even tell if a hide was fresh or dry, or if a tiny stone point hit bone when used as part of an arrow. With new digital microscopes and 3D modeling, this isn't just guesswork. It's becoming incredibly precise. So microwear tells us what a tool likely did. But how do we confirm it? That's where experimental archaeology comes in. And this is where things get really cool. Researchers don't just study old tools, they make them. They use the same materials and techniques. Mesolithic people would have had flint, bone, antler, and then they use these replica tools for all sorts of tasks. Butchering animals, processing plants, drilling holes, crafting other tools, you name it, they try it. Then, they look at the wear patterns on their name-it-dana tools under the microscope and compare them to the ancient ones. A match? Bingo! Strong evidence for how that ancient tool was used. They're not just playing ancient craftsmen. They're figuring out how efficient different tools were, the effort needed, and the skill involved. For instance, by trying to drill holes in deer antler with flint tools, using methods like hand boring or bow drilling, they've identified unique wear patterns for each. This helps them look at an ancient drilled antler and say, "Aha, this was made with a bow drill." They've even figured out that some mysterious beveled bone tools were likely used for stripping fresh pine bark, something that was a total puzzle before these experiments. So what has this dynamic duo of microwear and experimentation actually taught us? Prepare for some myth-busting. First, tools are way more versatile than we thought. That scraper might also have been used for cutting, or that chisel for something else entirely. Even bits of flint that were once dismissed as workshop waste? Turns out many were used as simple, effective cutting tools. Mesolithic people were clearly resourceful and adaptable. Second, we're uncovering invisible activities. Think about it. Things made from plants, hides, or wood rarely survive for thousands of years, but the wear on stone tools used to work these materials does survive. So we're finding evidence for plant processing, suggesting plants were a bigger part of their diet and technology than we knew. We're getting a richer picture of daily life, making clothes, shelters, fishing nets, and other gear. Third, we're learning how complex tools were assembled. Many Mesolithic tools, especially those tiny flint pieces called microliths, were just parts of bigger things, like arrowheads on arrows or blades set into handles. Microwear can show traces of the resin or sinew used to attach them, or wear from the handle itself. Experiments help test how these were put together. And get this, it even tells us about how they organized their living spaces. At a famous site called Star Car in the UK, analysis of tools found in and around ancient structures showed that messy jobs like butchery happened in different areas, from cleaner crafts, like making bone tools, that's sophisticated domestic organization for mobile hunter-gatherers. All this detail helps us understand how these groups adapted to their environments, what resources they focused on, like red deer or fish, and even how their technology varied from region to region. Now, it's not all smooth sailing. Ancient tools can be damaged after being buried for millennia, affecting the microwear. Sometimes it's tricky to distinguish wear from very similar activities. Researchers are constantly working on these challenges, like studying how burning affects wear patterns so they don't have to discard those potentially informative artifacts. The future? It's even more high-tech. Imagine combining microwear with residue analysis, finding actual traces of blood, plant starches, or fats on tool surfaces. Plus, using GIS for spatial mapping and 3D imaging for even more detailed recording. They're also building bigger experimental collections, developing more objective ways to measure wear, and trying to understand the entire life story of a tool, from raw material to discard. And, fascinatingly, they're starting to explore how tool use might have been tied to social practices and even identity. So what does all this mean? It means we're moving beyond seeing Mesolithic people through the simplistic lens of stone tool types. Thanks to the painstaking work of experimental archaeology and microwear analysis, they emerge as incredibly skilled, adaptable, and innovative. They had a profound understanding of their materials and their world. These tiny scratches, these replicated actions, are giving us a clearer, more dynamic, and frankly far more interesting view of life in the Middle Stone Age. We're getting closer to truly appreciating the ingenuity and resilience of our distant ancestors during a time of huge environmental change. It's a testament to how technology, even ancient technology, shaped human survival and success. Pretty amazing what we can learn from a few tiny marks, isn't it? That's all the time we have for today on Fun Facts Online. I hope you found this glimpse into the Mesolithic as fascinating as I do. Join us next time for more surprising stories and fun facts. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Fun Facts Online wherever you get your podcasts, so you don't miss out. Thanks for listening.